My name is Naomi Richardson. I'm 35 years old, and I'm a corporate event planner in Atlanta, Georgia. And I need to tell you about the day that was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, the day I married the man I thought I loved, the man I thought loved me back. But instead, it became the day I watched my brand new husband try to murder me at our own wedding reception. At our wedding, I saw my husband pour something into my champagne when no one was looking. I swapped our glasses. When he raised the toast and drank, I smiled and whispered the words that made his face go white with terror. What I discovered that night would expose a plan so evil, so calculated, so cold-blooded, that even now, 2 years later, I still wake up in the middle of the night with my heart racing, remembering the moment I realized the man standing next to me in a tuxedo, the man who had just promised to love and cherish me until death do us part, had already decided exactly when that death would be, and he'd planned it down to the minute. Before I continue with this story, I need you to do something for me. Please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. And I really mean this. Comment below where you're watching from, because I need to know I'm not alone in this. I need to know that there are other people out there who understand what it's like to have your entire reality shattered in a single moment. Because what happened next changed everything I thought I knew about love, about trust, about the man I had spent 4 years of my life with. Let me take you back to the beginning, because you need to understand who I was before that day. I met Derek Thompson 4 years before our wedding. I was 31. He was 33. And we met at a charity gala I had planned for a major tech company in Atlanta. He was there representing his insurance firm, looking sharp in his navy suit, and he had this smile that just lit up the room. We talked for hours that night. He told me about his work as an insurance broker, about his dreams of starting his own agency someday, about how he'd grown up in Savannah and moved to Atlanta for better opportunities. He seemed ambitious, driven, kind. He asked about my work, actually listened when I talked about the challenges of event planning, remembered details from our conversations. He seemed perfect. We dated for 2 years before he proposed. And I'm talking about a real courtship, you know? Dinner dates where we actually talked, weekend trips to the mountains, meeting each other's families. His parents seemed lovely. His mother hugged me the first time we met, and told me she was so happy Derek had found someone who made him smile like that. My parents adored him. My father, who is the most skeptical man I've ever known, actually pulled me aside after the first family dinner and said, "Naomi, I think this one's a keeper." My younger brother Jerome, who had hated every man I'd ever dated, actually invited Derek to play basketball with his friends. Everyone loved Derek. I loved Derek. Or at least, I loved who I thought Derek was. He proposed on a beach in Charleston during a weekend getaway. Got down on one knee at sunset with a beautiful vintage ring he said had belonged to his grandmother. I said yes, without even thinking about it. I was so happy. So stupidly, blindly happy. We set the date for 18 months later because I wanted time to plan the perfect wedding. And as an event planner, I had very specific ideas about what perfect meant. I spent those 18 months designing every detail. The venue, this gorgeous historic mansion with gardens that looked like something out of a fairy tale. The flowers, white roses and peonies, thousands of them. The food, a 5-course meal from Atlanta's best caterer. The dress, oh God, my dress. I spent 6 months finding the perfect dress. Vera Wang, fitted lace, with a cathedral train that took 3 people to manage. I looked like a princess. I felt like a princess. I had no idea I was actually planning my own funeral. The morning of the wedding, I woke up at 5 a.m. in the bridal suite at the venue. My bridesmaids were already there, my best friend Jasmine, my cousin Tiana, my college roommate Lauren. We drank mimosas and did our makeup and hair. The hairstylist spent 2 hours on my updo, weaving in these tiny white flowers that matched my bouquet. The makeup artist made my skin look absolutely flawless. I remember looking at myself in the mirror, in my robe with my hair done and my makeup perfect, and thinking, this is it. This is the moment everything in my life has been leading to. I was glowing. I was radiant. I was so incredibly naive. The ceremony was at 4 p.m. I walked down that aisle on my father's arm, and Derek was standing at the altar crying. Actually crying tears of joy, Or at least that's what I thought they were. Now I know they were probably tears of guilt. Or maybe just tears from an Oscar-worthy performance. The ceremony was beautiful. Perfect. Even. We said our vows, the traditional ones. The ones where he promised to love and honor me in sickness and in health. For richer or poorer. Till death do us part. He looked me right in the eyes when he said those words. His voice didn't even shake. I wonder now if he was thinking about the little vial in his pocket the whole time. If he was already counting down the hours until I'd be dead and he'd be free. The reception started at 6 p.m. Cocktail hour in the gardens while the staff flipped the ceremony space into the dining room. I was floating on air. Greeting guests. Taking a million photos with family and friends. Everyone kept telling me how beautiful I looked. How perfect everything was. How lucky Derek and I were to have found each other. I believed them. God help me. I believed every word. We did our grand entrance into the reception at 7 p.m. First dance to At Last by Etta James. Derek held me close and whispered in my ear that he loved me more than anything in the world. I remember thinking in that moment that I was the luckiest woman alive. The dinner was served, people raved about the food. Everything was going exactly according to plan. My plan. The plan I'd spent 18 months perfecting. But Derek had his own plan. And his had been in motion for months without me knowing a single thing about it. It was about 8:30 p.m. when it happened. We'd finished dinner, and it was almost time for the toasts. In the wedding timeline I'd created, the toasts were scheduled for 8:45 p.m. My maid of honor Jasmine would go first, then Derek's best man Cameron, then Derek himself would give a toast to thank everyone for coming. I'd insisted on having premium champagne for the toasts. Veuve Clicquot. Expensive stuff. The good stuff. The catering staff had set up a special table near the head table with champagne flutes already poured and arranged on silver trays. My glass and Derek's glass were in the center, slightly larger than the others, with our names on little gold placards underneath them. I stepped away from the head table right before the toasts were supposed to start. I needed to touch up my lipstick and one of my bridesmaids wanted to fix a loose pin in my hair. I went to the bridal suite just off the main reception hall. It was maybe a 3-minute walk. Jasmine came with me. And we were laughing about something one of the guests had said during dinner. We were in the bridal suite for maybe 5 minutes, max. Fixed my lipstick, fixed my hair, took a few deep breaths because I was starting to feel overwhelmed by all the emotion and the attention and the sheer magnitude of the day. Jasmine hugged me and said, "Girl, you did it. You married a good man and threw the wedding of the century." I hugged her back and said, "I know. I'm so happy I could cry." We walked back to the reception hall together, but Jasmine got stopped by someone asking about the bathroom location. I kept walking, heading back toward the head table, and that's when I saw him. Derek. Standing at the champagne table. Alone. Completely alone. Which was weird because there were 150 people at this wedding and someone was always nearby. But in that exact moment, the photographer was herding people outside for some group shots, and the DJ was on a break, and the catering staff was in the kitchen prepping dessert. Derek was standing at that champagne table by himself, and he was holding something small in his hand. Something tiny. A little glass vial, maybe the size of my thumb. I stopped walking. I was maybe 20 feet away, partially hidden behind one of the tall floral arrangements we'd placed around the perimeter of the room. He didn't see me. He was completely focused on what he was doing. I watched him look around nervously, checking to make sure no one was watching. Then he uncapped that little vial, leaned over the champagne table, and very deliberately, very carefully, poured the contents into one specific glass. My glass. The one with my name on the little gold placard. He shook the vial to get every last drop out. Then he pocketed it, smoothed down his tuxedo jacket, and stepped back from the table with this expression on his face that I had never seen before. Satisfaction. Cold, calculated satisfaction. My brain couldn't process what I was seeing. This was my husband. We'd been married for 4.5 hours. We'd just danced together, eaten together, smiled for 1,000 photos together. And he was... what? Putting something in my drink? Why would he do that? What was in that vial? My first thought, I'm ashamed to admit, wasn't that he was trying to hurt me. My first thought was that maybe it was some kind of surprise. Maybe it was some kind of sweetener or flavoring. Something to make my champagne special for the toast. Maybe it was rose water or vanilla extract or something romantic like that. But even as I was trying to rationalize it, trying to make it make sense, every instinct in my body was screaming at me that something was very, very wrong. Because here's the thing, if it was something innocent, something sweet and romantic, why did he look around to make sure no one was watching? Why did he look so nervous? Why did he hide the vial immediately after? Why didn't he just tell me about it? We'd been together for 4 years. If he wanted to do something special with my champagne, he would have told me about it, made it part of the moment, not sneaked around behind my back like he was doing something he didn't want anyone to see. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. My hands started shaking. I felt cold all over despite the June heat and the room full of people. Every single self-preservation instinct I had was firing at once, screaming at me to not drink whatever was in that glass. But I still didn't understand why. I still couldn't wrap my mind around the possibility that Derek, my Derek, the man who'd cried when I walked down the aisle, the man who'd just promised to cherish me forever, would actually want to hurt me. It didn't make sense. Nothing made sense. But I knew, deep in my bones, in that primal part of your brain that's kept humans alive for thousands of years, that I could not drink from that glass. I made a decision in that split second. I walked toward the table, forcing my face into a smile, forcing my hands to stop shaking. Derek was standing a few feet away now, talking to his best man Cameron. I walked up behind him and wrapped my arms around his waist, pressing my cheek against his back like I was just being affectionate, like I was just a happy bride showing love to her new husband. "Hey, handsome," I said, keeping my voice light and sweet. "Almost time for toasts?" He jumped a little when I touched him, then relaxed. "Hey, baby," he said, turning around to kiss my forehead. "Yeah, just about. You ready?" I smiled up at him, and I swear to God my face felt like it was going to crack from the effort of keeping that smile in place. "So ready," I said. "Let me just grab our champagne." I turned to the table, picked up both of our glasses, his in my left hand, mine in my right. I handed him what had been my glass, the one with my name placard, the one he'd just poisoned. "Here you go, honey," I said, pressing it into his hand. Then I switched the placards while his attention was on the glass, moving them so they were back in their correct positions. I kept what had been his glass for myself. He didn't notice. He was too busy looking at the glass in his hand, and I saw something flicker across his face. Confusion? Concern? I couldn't tell, but he didn't say anything. He just held the glass and looked at me with this weird expression I couldn't read. People started gathering around for the toasts. My maid of honor Jasmine went first, giving a beautiful speech about our friendship and how happy she was to see me marry someone who loved me so much. Derek's best man Cameron went next, telling funny stories about their college days and making everyone laugh. The whole time, I was standing there holding my champagne glass, the safe one. The one that had originally been Derek's, and watching him hold his. The poisoned one. My poisoned one. The one meant to kill me. My hand was wrapped so tight around the stem of my glass that my knuckles were white. I was smiling, but I couldn't feel my face. I felt like I was floating outside my body, watching this scene play out like a movie. Then it was Derek's turn to give his toast. He stepped forward, raised his glass, and started talking. "I want to thank everyone for being here today to celebrate with me and my beautiful wife," he said, and his voice was steady and warm and full of love. Or fake love. Lies. All lies. "Naomi, you are the best thing that ever happened to me. You're smart, talented, gorgeous, and somehow you agreed to marry me." Everyone laughed. I wanted to throw up. "I promise to love you, support you, and cherish you every single day for the rest of our lives." To my wife. He raised his glass high. Everyone else raised theirs. I raised mine, but my arm felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. To the happy couple. Everyone shouted. And then everyone drank. Derek drank. He took a long, deep drink from his champagne glass, nearly emptying it in one gulp. I took the tiniest sip from mine, barely letting the champagne touch my lips. I was watching Derek's face over the rim of my glass. Watching and waiting. For what? I didn't know. But something. Anything. Some kind of confirmation that what I'd seen was real and not just my imagination playing tricks on me. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Derek lowered his glass and smiled at the crowd. People started clapping and cheering. Then I saw it. The smile faltered. Just for a second. His eyebrows pulled together like he was confused. He blinked a few times. Fast. Like he was trying to clear his vision. I stepped closer to him. Right up next to him. Close enough that no one else could hear. I leaned in like I was going to kiss his cheek. Like I was just being an affectionate newlywed. My lips were right next to his ear. "Wrong glass, darling," I whispered. "You just drank what you meant for me." I pulled back and looked at his face. I will never, ever forget the expression I saw there. First, confusion. Like he didn't understand what I'd said. Then his eyes widened as comprehension hit. Then fear. Pure, absolute, primal fear. His face went white, not pale, not flushed, but actually white like all the blood had drained out of his head. His mouth opened like he was trying to say something but no words came out. He looked down at the champagne glass in his hand like it was a snake that had just bitten him. Then he looked at me. And in his eyes I saw the truth of everything. Guilt. Terror. Realization. He knew that I knew. And he knew what was about to happen to him. "Naomi," he managed to say. And his voice was wrong. Thick and slurred. "What did you—" But he couldn't finish the sentence. His words were getting tangled in his mouth. He swayed on his feet. I grabbed his arm like I was steadying him. Playing the concerned wife. "Derek. Honey. Are you okay?" I said loudly enough for people nearby to hear. "You look pale." He tried to answer, but he couldn't form the words anymore. His eyes were unfocused. Sweat was beading on his forehead, on his upper lip. His hand came up to his chest, and he made this sound. This horrible gasping sound like he couldn't breathe properly. "Derek," I said again, louder this time. People were starting to notice now. Starting to turn and look. His mother rushed over. "Derek, what's wrong?" she asked, her voice sharp with concern. He tried to answer her but all that came out was this garbled mess of sounds. Then his knees buckled. I wasn't strong enough to hold him up and he went down. Hard. Right there on the reception hall floor in front of 150 wedding guests. Someone screamed. Maybe it was his mother. Maybe it was one of my bridesmaids. Everything was happening so fast and in slow motion at the same time. People were rushing over, crowding around. Someone was shouting to call 911. Derek was on the ground, conscious but barely, his body twitching and convulsing. His eyes were rolling back in his head. Foam was forming at the corners of his mouth. It was horrifying. It was absolutely horrifying. And I was just standing there, watching it happen, knowing that I had caused this. Knowing that whatever he'd meant for me, he was getting instead. And the truly terrible part? I didn't feel bad about it. I felt vindicated. I felt powerful. I felt like I had just saved my own life. And if that meant watching him suffer, then so be it. I pulled my phone out of the little hidden pocket in my wedding dress. My hands were surprisingly steady as I dialed 911. 911. "What's your emergency?" the operator asked. "My husband has been drugged," I said. Clear and loud. Not drunk. Not sick. Drugged. I said it specifically and deliberately because I wanted it on record. "We're at our wedding reception at the historic Whitmore Mansion on Peachtree. He just drank something and collapsed. He's having some kind of reaction. Please send paramedics immediately." I gave them the address. Answered their questions about his symptoms. The whole time, Derek was on the floor, barely conscious, making these awful choking sounds. His best man Cameron was trying to help him, loosening his tie, turning him on his side. Derek's mother was crying and screaming at someone to do something. My mother had her arms around me, asking what happened, but I couldn't answer her. I couldn't take my eyes off Derek. The paramedics arrived maybe 8 minutes later, but it felt like hours. They rushed in with their equipment, started checking Derek's vital signs, asking questions. What did he drink? What did he eat? Does he have any allergies? Any medical conditions? I answered what I could. Then I did something that I'd been planning since the moment I saw him pour that vial into my champagne. I reached into Derek's tuxedo jacket pocket while everyone was distracted by the paramedics. I found the vial. It was empty now. But it was there, and I could see some residue inside. I pulled it out and held it up. I think this is what he used, I said to the police officer, who had arrived with the paramedics. The officer took the vial from me carefully, holding it by the edges. Where did you find this, ma'am? He asked. In my husband's jacket pocket, I said. I saw him pour something into my champagne glass right before the toasts. I switched our glasses. He drank from mine instead. The officer's expression changed, sharpened. He called over his partner. They started asking me more detailed questions, while the paramedics loaded Derek onto a stretcher. What exactly did I see? When did I see it? Why did I switch the glasses? I told them everything. My voice amazingly calm, considering I was standing there in my wedding dress, watching my brand new husband get wheeled out on a stretcher with an oxygen mask on his face. The reception had descended into absolute chaos. Guests were crying, confused, demanding to know what was happening. The venue manager was freaking out. My bridesmaids were surrounding me, trying to understand. My father was yelling at someone, I couldn't tell who. Derek's parents were following the stretcher out to the ambulance, his mother sobbing hysterically. And I was just standing there in the middle of it all. Still holding my champagne glass, still wearing my perfect dress, still looking like a princess who had just outsmarted an assassination attempt at her own wedding. The police officer asked if I would come to the station to give a statement. I said yes, but first I needed to change out of my dress. I went back to the bridal suite with Jasmine. She helped me out of the Vera Wang gown, unzipping the back, unhooking the bustle, removing the veil. I stood there in my strapless bra and Spanx, looking at myself in the mirror. My makeup was still perfect. My hair was still perfect. But I wasn't the same person who had gotten dressed in this room 6 hours ago. That Naomi was dead. That naive, trusting, happy Naomi was gone forever. This new Naomi, the one staring back at me from the mirror, was harder, colder, a survivor. I put on jeans and a t-shirt, threw a cardigan over it. Jasmine kept asking me what happened. What was going on? But I couldn't explain it yet. I couldn't find the words. All I could say was, he tried to hurt me. I stopped him. She didn't understand. How could she? I barely understood it myself. We went back out to the reception hall, and the police officer was waiting. Mrs. Richardson, he said. And I almost corrected him. Almost said I wasn't Mrs. Richardson anymore, couldn't be after what just happened. But I didn't. I just nodded. We need you to come down to the station. And ma'am, I need to tell you this is now a criminal investigation. Don't leave town. We'll have a lot more questions for you and for Mr. Thompson. I rode to the police station in my father's car. My mother sat in the back with me, holding my hand, not saying anything because what was there to say? At the station, they put me in an interview room. Not a cell. Just a room with a table and some chairs and a recording device. A detective came in, Detective Martinez. Middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. She asked me to tell her everything from the beginning. So I did. I told her about seeing Derek with the vial, about switching the glasses, about watching him drink it and collapse. I told her about finding the vial in his pocket. She listened to all of it, taking notes, recording everything. Mrs. Richardson, she said when I finished, I need to ask you something directly. Did you have any reason to believe your husband wanted to harm you before today? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Had there been signs, red flags I'd missed? No, I said finally. I thought everything was perfect. I thought he loved me. I thought we were starting our life together. My voice cracked on that last part. Detective Martinez pushed a box of tissues across the table to me. We're going to need to keep that vial as evidence, she said. And we'll need the champagne glass you were holding. The paramedics took Mr. Thompson to Emory University Hospital. They're pumping his stomach and running toxicology tests. We'll know more soon about what was in that vial. But Mrs. Richardson, I want you to understand something. If what you're telling me is true, if your husband deliberately tried to poison you, you just saved your own life tonight. And you did it with incredible presence of mind. They let me leave the station around midnight. My parents took me back to their house in Buckhead. I couldn't go back to the apartment I shared with Derek. I couldn't even think about that place. My mother put me in my old childhood bedroom, and I just sat on the bed, still in my jeans and t-shirt, staring at the wall. I didn't cry. I couldn't cry. I was just numb, empty. My wedding day, the day that was supposed to be the beginning of forever, had turned into a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Somewhere across town, Derek was in a hospital bed having his stomach pumped, being treated for the same poison he'd meant for me. And I felt nothing. No sympathy, no regret, nothing. Just this cold, hard certainty that I had done what I needed to do to survive. The next morning, Detective Martinez called me. Derek had survived the night. The toxicology report had come back. The vial had contained rohypnol. You probably know it as a date rape drug mixed with a heavy sedative. The dose was high. Really high. High enough that if I'd drunk it, I would have lost consciousness within minutes. And given my weight and the lack of food in my system at that point in the evening, we'd eaten dinner at 6:30, and it was 8:45 when the toasts happened. There was a very real possibility I would have stopped breathing in my sleep. The medical examiner's preliminary report said that if I had consumed that dose, I likely would have died. Respiratory failure, most likely. Or aspiration if I'd vomited while unconscious. Either way, I'd probably be dead. Mrs. Richardson, Detective Martinez said, and I could hear something in her voice that hadn't been there the night before. Anger, maybe. Or disgust. Your husband tried to kill you on your wedding night. This wasn't a joke or a prank gone wrong. This was attempted murder. We've arrested him. He's in custody right now. And we've charged him with attempted first-degree murder. I sat down on my parents' couch, my legs suddenly unable to hold me up. Attempted murder. My husband, the man I'd married less than 24 hours ago, had tried to murder me. There's more, Detective Martinez continued. We seized Mr. Thompson's phone as evidence. Mrs. Richardson, you need to prepare yourself. There are text messages on that phone that are going to be very difficult for you to see. They sent a victim advocate to my parents' house that afternoon. She sat with me while Detective Martinez showed me printouts of Derek's text messages. Messages between Derek and a woman named Amber Collins. A woman I'd never heard of. A woman who, it turned out, worked at Derek's insurance firm. Messages going back months. Baby, I can't wait until she's gone and we can be together. That was from Derek to Amber, sent 6 weeks before the wedding. Are you sure this will work? What if someone figures it out? That was from Amber to Derek. No one will figure it out. She'll just go to sleep and never wake up. They'll think it was a heart condition or something. Natural causes. And then I'll have the insurance money and we can start our life together. That was Derek. My Derek. Planning my death with his mistress like they were planning a vacation. There were dozens of messages like that. Hundreds. Maybe. They'd been seeing each other for over a year. While Derek was coming home to me every night, kissing me, making love to me, planning our wedding with me, he was texting Amber. Telling her he loved her. Making plans for their future together. A future that required me to be dead. The messages laid it all out. Derek had taken out a life insurance policy on me 6 months before the wedding. $750,000. With him as the sole beneficiary. I hadn't known about it. He'd forged my signature on the application, apparently. The insurance company was already investigating. And the reason he needed that money so desperately? Gambling debts. Derek had been gambling online. Betting on sports. Losing massive amounts of money. He owed over $200,000 to various bookies and loan sharks. He was drowning in debt. And his solution was to murder me and collect the insurance money. Amber was arrested that same day. Turns out she'd been at the wedding. She'd come as the +1 of Derek's friend Marcus, not her real connection. Just a cover story so she could be there. So she could watch. The police found messages from the night of the wedding. Is it done? Amber had texted Derek at 8:47 p.m., right around the time of the toasts. Did she drink it? Derek never answered that message. By then he was on the ground convulsing, experiencing firsthand what he'd meant for me. Amber had left the wedding immediately after the ambulance arrived. Ran, basically. But the police tracked her down to her apartment in Midtown. She tried to deny everything at first, but the text messages didn't lie. She was charged as an accessory to attempted murder. Conspiracy to commit murder. The news media got hold of the story within 48 hours. Bride saves her own life at wedding reception was the headline on every local news site. My phone wouldn't stop ringing with reporters asking for interviews. I didn't talk to any of them. I couldn't. I was barely functioning. I'd go through periods where I felt absolutely nothing, just numb and empty, and then suddenly I'd be hit with waves of rage so intense I thought I might actually explode. How dare he? How dare he? I had loved him, trusted him completely, given him 4 years of my life, planned a future with him, and the entire time, he was planning to kill me, using me, lying to me, sleeping next to me at night knowing he was going to murder me. What kind of monster does that? My family was devastated. My mother couldn't stop crying. My father was talking about ways to get to Derek in jail, and I actually had to make him promise not to do anything that would get him arrested. My brother Jerome kept saying he'd always thought there was something off about Derek, which wasn't true. Jerome had loved Derek, but I understood the need to rewrite history, to find the warning signs we'd all missed. Because there had to have been signs, right? You don't spend 4 years with someone who's capable of murder without seeing something. But I couldn't think of any. Derek had been a perfect boyfriend, a perfect fiancé, attentive, romantic, supportive. Or at least, that's what I'd thought. Now I'd never know what was real and what was performance. The wedding venue was incredibly kind. They refunded every penny I'd paid them, which was over $45,000. They also made a donation of $10,000 to a domestic violence charity in my name. The caterer refunded their fee. The florist, the photographer, the DJ, everyone refunded their money. I hadn't even asked. They just did it. I think everyone was so horrified by what had happened that they wanted to do something, anything, to help. The dress shop even offered to take back my Vera Wang gown and give me a full refund, but I couldn't bring myself to go get it. That dress was still at my parents' house, in the garment bag, hanging in my old closet. I couldn't look at it, couldn't touch it. It represented everything I'd lost. Derek's arraignment was a week after the wedding. I went to the courthouse with Detective Martinez and the victim advocate. I wanted to see him. Needed to see him. He was brought in wearing an orange jumpsuit, his hands cuffed in front of him. He looked terrible. He'd lost weight, his face was gaunt, and there were dark circles under his eyes. When he saw me sitting in the gallery, his face crumpled. He started crying. Actually crying. Tears running down his face. His lawyer, some public defender who looked about 12 years old, tried to get him to compose himself. But Derek just kept staring at me and crying. I stared back. I didn't cry. I didn't feel anything except this cold, hard satisfaction that he was suffering even a fraction of what I was suffering. The judge read the charges. Attempted murder in the first degree. Conspiracy to commit murder. Insurance fraud. Forgery. The prosecutor asked for bail to be denied, arguing that Derek was a flight risk and a danger to me. Derek's lawyer argued that his client had no criminal record, that he had ties to the community, that he deserved bail. The judge listened to both sides, and then looked at Derek. "Mr. Thompson," she said, "you are accused of trying to murder your wife on your wedding night. You allegedly drugged her champagne with a dose of sedatives high enough to cause respiratory failure. If these charges are proven, you represent a clear danger to Mrs. Richardson. Bail is denied. You will remain in custody until trial." Derek made this sound. This horrible broken sound, and his lawyer had to hold him up to keep him from collapsing. After the arraignment, the prosecutor met with me in his office. His name was James Chen, an assistant district attorney who specialized in attempted murder cases. He was maybe 40, with glasses and a kind face. "Mrs. Richardson," he said, I want you to know that we're going to do everything in our power to make sure Mr. Thompson faces the maximum sentence for what he did to you. The evidence against him is overwhelming. The text messages, the insurance policy, the toxicology report, your testimony. We have everything we need to prove attempted first-degree murder. But I need to prepare you. This is going to be a long process. The trial probably won't happen for at least 6 months, maybe longer. And when it does happen, you're going to have to testify. You're going to have to sit in that courtroom and relive the worst day of your life while Derek sits there watching you. Can you do that? I looked him right in the eyes. Yes, I said. I can do that. I need to do that. Because I want him to hear me tell the world exactly what he tried to do to me. I want everyone to know who he really is. Mr. Chen nodded. Good, he said. That's what I needed to hear. We're going to get justice for you, Mrs. Richardson. I promise you that. The next few months were a nightmare. I had to move out of the apartment Derek and I had shared. I couldn't stay there. Couldn't be surrounded by our things, our memories. My parents helped me pack up my belongings, and we donated or threw away everything that was Derek's. I moved into a small one-bedroom apartment in Virginia Highland. Started over from scratch with secondhand furniture and kitchenware from Target. I tried to go back to work, but I couldn't focus. Every time I tried to plan an event, I'd think about my own wedding, about how I'd spent 18 months planning the perfect day only to have it end with my husband trying to kill me. I took a leave of absence. My boss was understanding, told me to take all the time I needed. I started therapy. Dr. Patricia Williams, a Black woman in her 50s who specialized in trauma. I saw her twice a week at first, then once a week as I started to stabilize. She helped me process what had happened, helped me understand that it wasn't my fault, that I couldn't have known, that Derek's actions were about him and not about anything I did or didn't do. But even with therapy, I was barely holding it together. I'd have nightmares where I drank the poisoned champagne and woke up unable to breathe. I'd have panic attacks in public spaces, convinced that everyone around me was secretly planning to hurt me. I stopped trusting anyone, stopped going out, stopped seeing friends. I was just existing, not living. The preliminary hearings happened. More evidence came out. The police had tracked down the person who sold Derek the Rohypnol, some guy he'd met online who dealt drugs. That guy was arrested too, charged with distribution of controlled substances. The insurance company confirmed that Derek had forged my signature on the life insurance application, and they were pursuing their own charges against him. Derek's bank records showed that he'd been gambling away thousands of dollars every month for over 2 years, racking up massive debts. His parents were devastated. His mother actually reached out to me to apologize, crying and saying she had no idea, that she'd raised him better than this. I appreciated the gesture, but I couldn't talk to her. She was his mother. She loved him. I couldn't be around that. Then there was Amber. She tried to make a deal with the prosecutors, offering to testify against Derek in exchange for a reduced sentence. The prosecutors agreed. She'd get 15 years instead of 25 if she cooperated fully. So she gave them everything. Told them how the affair started. How Derek had complained about being stuck with me. About needing money. About wanting a way out. How he'd come up with the plan to kill me and make it look like natural causes. How she'd helped him research different drugs and methods. How they'd practiced the dosing, the timing, the cover story. She'd been in on it from the beginning. They'd planned my murder together like some people plan surprise parties. The trial finally started in February, 8 months after my wedding day. The courthouse was packed with reporters and spectators. This case had gotten national attention. Black bride outsmarts murderous groom, was how some headlines described it. I hated being famous for this. Hated that the worst moment of my life was entertainment for strangers. But I also understood the importance of people seeing what Derek had tried to do. Of other women seeing that even men who seem perfect can be monsters in disguise. I had to testify on the second day of the trial. I wore a navy blue dress suit, professional and conservative. Nothing flashy. I wanted the jury to see me as credible, trustworthy. I took the stand and placed my hand on the Bible and swore to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And then I told my story. The prosecutor, Mr. Chen, walked me through everything. How Derek and I met. Our relationship. The engagement. Planning the wedding. The day itself. And then that moment seeing Derek pour something into my champagne. The decision to switch the glasses. Watching him drink it. Whispering in his ear. His collapse. All of it. Mrs. Richardson, Mr. Chen asked me, when you saw your husband pour that substance into your champagne, what went through your mind? I looked right at the jury as I answered. I thought, something is very wrong here. I need to protect myself. And why did you switch the glasses instead of just not drinking from yours? Because I needed to know what was in that glass. I needed proof. If I just didn't drink it, I'd never know for sure what he'd done or why. But if he drank it, if he had the reaction instead of me, then I'd know. Then everyone would know. Were you trying to hurt your husband when you switched the glasses? No. I was trying to save myself. Derek's lawyer tried to shake my testimony on cross-examination. Tried to suggest that maybe I'd misunderstood what I saw. That maybe Derek had been putting something innocent in the glass. That maybe I'd switched the glasses because I was paranoid, or jealous, or having second thoughts about the marriage. But I didn't budge. I answered every question calmly and clearly. I know what I saw, I said. Your client tried to murder me. And because I switched those glasses, I'm alive and he's sitting at that table. I pointed right at Derek when I said it. He was crying again, shaking his head like he couldn't believe what was happening. Like he was the victim here. The toxicology expert testified about what was in that vial. The police detective testified about the text messages. Amber testified about the plan, about helping Derek research methods, about knowing he was going to do it at the wedding. Derek's gambling debts were laid out in detail, over $200,000 owed to various creditors, with some of them threatening violence if he didn't pay. The insurance agent testified about the forged policy. The $750,000 payout that would have gone to Derek if I'd died. Every piece of evidence pointed to one conclusion. Derek Thompson had planned and attempted to murder me for money, so he could be with his mistress. Derek's defense was pathetic. His lawyer tried to argue that Derek had been under extreme stress, that he wasn't thinking clearly, that he'd made a terrible mistake but didn't actually intend to kill me. The jury didn't buy it. How do you accidentally put a lethal dose of sedatives in someone's champagne? How do you accidentally forge insurance documents? How do you accidentally text your mistress about planning your wife's death? The prosecution absolutely destroyed that defense. Mr. Chen's closing argument was powerful. He held up a photo of me in my wedding dress, smiling and radiant. This is Naomi Richardson on what should have been the happiest day of her life, he said. She trusted Derek Thompson completely. She loved him. She married him. And that night, he tried to take everything from her. Her life. Her future. Her dreams. For money. For greed. For a woman he'd been cheating with. But Naomi Richardson is not a victim. She's a survivor. She saw the danger. She acted. And she saved her own life. And now it's time for justice. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. 4 hours while I sat in the hallway outside the courtroom with my family. My stomach in knots, wondering if they'd actually convict him, or if somehow his lawyer's arguments had planted enough doubt. But when they came back, the verdict was unanimous. Guilty on all charges. Attempted murder in the first degree. Conspiracy to commit murder. Insurance fraud. Forgery. Derek collapsed when he heard the verdict. Actually fell out of his chair, sobbing and wailing. The bailiffs had to help him up and get him out of the courtroom. His parents were crying. His mother was screaming that her baby wasn't a monster, that this wasn't fair. But it was fair. It was justice. The sentencing hearing was a month later. I gave a victim impact statement. I'd written it out and practiced it. But standing there in front of the judge and Derek and everyone else, the words came from somewhere deeper than the page. Your Honor, I said, Derek Thompson stole something from me that I can never get back. He stole my ability to trust, to love without fear, to believe that people are who they say they are. I spent 4 years with a man I thought I knew. And it turns out I didn't know him at all. He was willing to murder me to watch me die, to make my family mourn me, to let everyone think I died of natural causes all so he could have money, and be with another woman. That kind of evil is beyond my comprehension. But here's what he didn't count on. I'm stronger than he ever knew. I trusted my instincts. I saved myself. And now I'm going to rebuild my life without him. Without fear. Without looking over my shoulder wondering if the next person I love is going to hurt me. Derek Thompson tried to end my life, but instead, he ended his own. And that's exactly what he deserves. The judge sentenced Derek to 25 years without the possibility of parole. He'd be in prison until he was nearly 60. Amber got 15 years, which meant she'd be out in her early 50s if she behaved. I felt like I could finally breathe when I heard those sentences. 25 years. He'd stolen my ability to trust, my peace of mind, my wedding day, my marriage, my belief in love, and now I was stealing 25 years of his freedom. It felt right. It felt like balance. That was 2 years ago. 2 years since my wedding day. 2 years since I switched those champagne glasses and saved my own life. I'm 37 now. And I'm okay. Better than okay. Actually, I'm thriving. I started my own event planning company about 6 months after the trial ended. I couldn't go back to my old job, too many memories, too many people who knew what happened. So I started fresh. Richardson Events. Specializing in intimate, meaningful celebrations. I don't do big weddings anymore. Can't. But I do smaller events, milestone birthdays, anniversary parties, corporate retreats. Things that feel joyful and authentic without the weight of what happened to me. I'm still in therapy with Dr. Williams. Probably will be for a long time. PTSD doesn't just disappear. And I have bad days. Days where I can't get out of bed. Days where I'm convinced that everyone around me is secretly plotting against me. Days where I see Derek's face in every man who walks past me on the street. But I also have good days. More good days than bad now. Days where I laugh with my friends. Where I feel proud of my business. Where I actually enjoy being alive. I'm dating again. That's been the hardest part, if I'm honest. Learning to trust someone new. I met someone about 6 months ago. His name is Marcus. No, wait, I said I'd avoid that name. His name is Terrence. He's a teacher. Sweet and patient and kind. He knows what happened to me. I told him on our 3rd date because I needed him to understand why I'm the way I am. Why I ask so many questions. Why I need to know where he is and who he's with. Why I sometimes just shut down in the middle of a conversation because something triggered a memory. He didn't run. He listened, held my hand, and said, "I'm not him. I'm not going to hurt you. And I'll wait as long as it takes for you to believe that. We're taking it slow. So slow. But it feels good. It feels safe. My family has been incredible through all of this. My parents, my brother, my cousins, they surrounded me with love and support when I needed it most. They never made me feel weak or broken. They reminded me every day that I'm strong, that I survived, that I have a future worth living for. My best friend Jasmine is still by my side. Just like she was in that bridal suite 2 years ago. She checks on me constantly. Probably more than I deserve. But I'm grateful for it. I think about that day sometimes. My wedding day. Not the poisoning part, well, yes, that too, but the morning. Getting my hair done, laughing with my bridesmaids. Feeling like a princess. I mourn that version of myself sometimes. The Naomi who believed in fairy tale love, who trusted completely, who thought the world was safe. She died that day. Right along with my marriage. But maybe that's okay. Maybe that Naomi needed to die so this Naomi could be born. This Naomi who knows that survival is a choice. Who knows that trusting your instincts can save your life. Who knows that she doesn't need anyone to rescue her because she can rescue herself. I want you to understand something. I'm not telling you this story because I want sympathy or pity. I'm telling you this story because I want you to learn from it. Trust your instincts. Always. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Don't rationalize it away. Don't make excuses for people who give you bad feelings. Don't ignore the little voice in your head that's trying to protect you. That little voice saved my life. I saw Derek pour something into my champagne, and every logical part of my brain tried to explain it away. He wouldn't hurt me. He loves me. I'm just being paranoid. But that primal, instinctual part of me knew better, and I listened to it. I listened. And I'm alive because of it. Watch for the warning signs. Last-minute insurance policies. Secretive behavior. Financial desperation. Someone who isolates you from your friends and family. Someone who makes you doubt your own perceptions. Someone who lies about little things because they're practicing for the big lies. I missed all of those signs with Derek. Or maybe they weren't there until the end. I don't know. But I know that if I'd seen them, if I'd been paying attention, maybe I would have left before it got to that point. And here's the most important thing. If you're in danger, act first and ask questions later. I didn't wait to understand why Derek was poisoning me. I didn't stop to have a conversation about it or give him a chance to explain. I just protected myself. I switched those glasses, and I saved my own life. You don't owe anyone your safety. You don't owe anyone your life. If someone is trying to hurt you, you have every right to stop them by whatever means necessary. Don't let guilt or love or confusion paralyze you. Act. Protect yourself. Survive. I survived Derek Thompson. I survived his lies, his betrayal, his attempt to murder me. And not only did I survive, I made sure he faced justice for what he tried to do. He's in prison now, where he belongs, and I'm out here living my life. Building my business. Dating again. Learning to trust again. Healing. That's the real revenge, isn't it? Not just that he's locked up, but that I'm free. Free from him. Free from fear. Free to become whoever I want to be. He tried to end my story that night at our wedding reception, but all he did was start a new chapter. A chapter where I'm the hero, not the victim. So if this story resonated with you, I hope you'll share it. Maybe it will save someone's life the way my instincts saved mine. Hit that like button and subscribe to this channel for more stories of survival and justice. And comment below, I want to hear from you. Have you ever trusted your instincts in a dangerous moment? Have you ever been in a situation where something just felt wrong and you acted on it? Tell me your stories. Let's build a community of survivors and warriors who refuse to be victims. And remember this: you are stronger than you know. You are braver than you think. You are more powerful than anyone who tries to hurt you. Trust yourself. Protect yourself. And if someone tries to take you down, take them down first. Legally, of course. Always legally. But take them down. Show them that you are not someone to be trifled with. Show them that you will not go quietly into the night. Show them that you will fight. And you will win. And you will survive. My name is Naomi Richardson. I'm 37 years old. I'm a business owner, a daughter, a sister, a friend, a survivor. And I'm here to tell you that no matter what you've been through, no matter who's tried to hurt you, you can make it through to the other side. You can rebuild. You can heal. You can thrive. I'm living proof of that. Derek Thompson tried to kill me on my wedding night, but I'm still here. I'm still standing. I'm still fighting. And I'm not going anywhere. Stay safe out there, everyone. Trust your instincts. And never, ever drink from a glass you didn't pour yourself.